Okay, welcome back to video 18. Kind of a concept video, I suppose. A common question is, does the weather cause disease, or why in seasonal systems, certainly when we see weather changes, particularly around March, do we see a lot more disease? There's a couple of factors involved. So if we go back to this, and I keep going back to the love it, immunity and infection pressure seesaw, a lot can be explained from that. We have a couple of factors. As we get to March, the number of calves in the ground are increasing, and the infection pressure, the amount of bugs, so cows are the initial spreader of diseases, they have immunity to it, calves multiply it, they may remain healthy, but infection pressure is rising. What happens with weather is it be it cold, wet or damp, well the wet and damp thing increases moisture. Remember, I've spoken on hygiene before on how that impacts bugs like moisture. When it comes to cold it impacts the immune system. Okay, so it's not weather causing it. It's not the weather change. It's the factor that increases the likelihood of the seesaw being impacted. So weather changes are a factor. So what can we practically do? Nothing magical here. The consistency of the routines it's hard to maintain consistency for a long period of time from a physical tiredness perspective, but that's when consistency becomes really important, March time. If we know in February also it's getting cold, it's going to get really cold, we're watching our weather apps, they're getting more accurate, then we can take adaptive responses within our houses. The problem with housing is with such variation seasonally on humidity, dampness, cold, it's hard to have the perfect calf shed. But if we still focus on warm, dry lies, what we don't want is wet lies or wet bedding and cold at the same time. That has a real impact on immunity. When we know moisture and dampness has gone up, just focusing on routines. I think the infection pressure idea is that consistency of hygiene over time. I'm preparing a kind of a YouTube overview of calf rearing for the spring. It'll be on Tommy the Vet YouTube, and I'll cover a lot of this stuff in more detail. But the weather changes are leading into impacting immunity, and the basics around the basics around management are just the attention to detail and consistency continues. It's why seasonal calving systems are a challenge, but making the best adaptation. So if we look at cold, more straw, upping milk by a certain percentage. I'm a fan of volume increase versus solids increase in milk replacer. That's just a personal preference. But if we can make those adaptations, if we know there's changes coming, for example, if we know there's a wet, humid weather and cold or damp weather, whatever's coming, is it for a week? Is that the week we dehorn calves? We can stack stressors. We need to think about those sort of things. Very farm specific, but it always comes up. Why does the weather impact disease so much? Mindset, unfortunately, today, change is the only constant. So things are constantly changing on farm. I don't have to tell people that, but it's our ability to adapt to change, and that's a real mindset thing. And I think it's, I know sometimes when you're talking about mindset, it can be a little bit fluffy, but what I practically see on farm is management is only part of it. I keep going back to, if you watch the other videos, people, the calf, and the environment, they're the pillars of it. So we have to think about people and routines. Microbes, obviously, this is why we're getting really good results on farm with precision microbes. It's because weather stresses are out of our control. Stress has a big impact on gut health. So we need tools that are going to help animals be resilient. And when we think about gut health, our unique pro and postbiotic liquid is really helping resilience in the gut, especially with digestive upsets, recovery times, a reduction of severity, 30 mils daily. But during stressful periods, you can top up with an extra feed in the evening of 30 mils per day. So that's a very useful tool during digestive upsets or during risk periods, because stress has a big impact on gut health. The gut has 70% of immune function. If we get disruptions in there, it has a big impact on overall calf health. So that's the management tip today, mindset tip today, and microbes, video 18. See you tomorrow for video 19. It's Monday. Let's go. Let's rock and roll for video 19.